Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to 2CTV with some semi-breaking news for you guys. Earlier today in London, North London, West London, we had another incident which was luckily, thanks to the neighbourhood watch and those who were around, they tried their best to prevent it from getting worse. In this video, we're going to give you guys all the updates on what you might have missed, because just before the live stream started, I double checked on the BBC's website, BBC News, to find out how they reported this. And surprise, surprise, no reporting from the corporate media and the BBC yet, but we are here to do that. Right, let's start by talking about what actually happened in Golders Green in London, the area. There's a massive Jewish community, and there is a kosher market. There's a Jewish market, and a lot of residents who live there, they try to keep united, especially since the 7th of October. Security has obviously been increased. They can't fully rely on the Metropolitan Police all the time, because they can't really patrol the areas. They don't really have the resources. They're too busy checking our mean tweets and Facebook posts. But unfortunately, this happened earlier. We have a couple of videos for you guys to show you. This is the first one, this was towards the end of the actual attack that was happening.
Knife. He's got a knife. Call police as well.
Says they should come.
I told Sean, but I didn't know he's got a knife.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, hello, please. Yeah, Kate, look, somebody got a knife by our shop. He's got a knife?
Yes.
There's a guy outside Kay's Local, he's got a knife, black guy. Kay's Local, he's going up Hamilton Road now.
Urgent. Stabbing people.
Kay's Local, Hamilton Road.
Yes, Hamilton Road, and then we discovered that he was going around shouting anti-Semitic slurs and, of course, Islamists, chants or whatever. And then we received the update. We realized actually it was thanks to Shomrim, obviously the neighborhood watch, who are in the area trying to basically keep it together, because as I said, the police, you can't really always wait for the police within 10 seconds to turn up anyway. We then received the video when he was actually arrested. Fortunately, no casualties to be reported this time. Let's go to the video that shows him getting arrested.
Calm down. Get me your hand now. Give me your hand. You see I'm calm. You search me. You want me to search me? Give me your hand. You don't need to. I don't need to. You search me. Give me calm. Let me find
So special thanks to Shomrim, that basically the neighborhood watch. It means in Hebrew it's basically guard, which is the same as neighborhood watch. These guys obviously protect the neighborhood and protect everybody until the police eventually turns up. So if we weren't for Shomrim, of course, things would have been much worse. Now, we did eventually receive a statement and confirmation by the Metropolitan Police in London. They initially said that we were called at 1:27 p.m. on Monday, 29th of January, to reports of a man, obviously, in Hamilton Road, Northwest London. Officers responded and they searched the area, did all that. Shortly before 1:40 p.m., The man was arrested and he was 34 years old on suspicion of possession of an offensive weapon, criminal damage, and racially aggravated affray. He was taken into custody. There were no reports of any injuries, which is good, no casualties. Obviously, they then discovered the weapon, and the incident is not being treated so far as terror-related, despite him shouting all the usual stuff that they do anyway. They also released this statement. This is Inspector Scott Barden Marshall, saying, I know this incident will cause concern in the community. Officers responded quickly and made an arrest within 10 minutes. An investigation is now underway to establish the circumstances. Now, I fully understand that when it comes to law enforcement and the government, they have their bureaucratic process. Having said that, common sense says, if someone proactively goes into a Jewish market in a Jewish community and starts with the anti-Semitic slurs and Islamist rhetoric, do you still have to? How long would the investigation take for them to actually classify it as an Islamist or terror attack? That's what I want to know. or at best, in the obviously in the words of Metropolitan Police itself, hate crime, hate-related crime, whatever they call it. We'll wait. We'll wait to see how long it will take for them to finish the investigation and go through the usual process. Sometimes they are quite clear. Sometimes it takes, half an hour, depending on what the attack is, to identify it, and then they'll report it to the BBC and Sky News and corporate media, get the briefings. But because of the situation now, no report on BBC News' website. No report so far, as the last time I checked, on Sky News' website. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. This is the problem. Because they have to wait for the narrative to be shifted. They have to wait to see the Metropolitan Police have the meetings with the leadership, the management, and they find out exactly, and the Home Office, see how they should treat it. And they would say, well, we only said it like that because we don't want to create fear. We don't want to create division, blah, blah, blah. The people who were on the scene, the people who were in the neighborhood, on that road, who are being targeted by this man, for them it's too late because they are already in fear. And they've been in fear for months since October. What are you afraid of, government, the Home Office, and the police? This is the whole point. If something is logically sound and obvious, then be clear with the public. But again, we'll wait for the investigation, I'm not in the police. Who am I to judge them, right? We'll wait. And of course, we shall see how long it will take for the mainstream media to mention any of this. If any of you have seen any of this reports on any other channel, let me know in the live chat. Any other channel like Channel 4 News or GB News or Talk TV, all the mainstream media corporate outlets. Let me know if you heard any of this on any of those channels so far. But again, it will take a while for the mainstream media to get their act together. Let's go to you guys at live chat, get some of your reaction as well. Jason says, the problem is too much secularism. Islam needs some treatment. This is quite interesting because obviously post-enlightenment and obviously the 20th century and everything else, in a very basic level, secularism in the West worked out. Because, you still had the Christians who were mostly obviously in the West living their lives and doing their own things, and other people who just didn't want to. Nobody harmed anybody. But secularism, it's no longer working when you have one religion pushing forward and the other religion retreating, and then the others, seculars and atheists, are also too politically correct and fearful of criticizing the other religion. So it's a problem when you're not confronting Islam as an ideology. And I'm not really saying, I'm not claiming that we should create some sort of authoritarian Christian country or something like that, but we posted the video just before this live stream, obviously, about the police a couple of days ago on Oxford Street. I'm trying to see if I can find the video for you guys. If you missed it, I'm going to post it here now. There was a Christian who on the street in London was singing Christian songs, right? Gospel. And then you had the police, and the person who was actually addressing the Christian person was actually a volunteer, but she had the actual police officers behind her. They approached the Christian person saying, you're not allowed to say or sing Christian things in public. Do it in church. Whereas the Islamic side, they can do whatever they want. And obviously, in terms of praying on the streets, chanting, singing, and whatever else. This is the video we have about the Christian being targeted by the police. And then watch the reaction of the same woman, the volunteer in the police office, the police force, Watch her reaction at the end of the video.
Religion you're allowed to do anywhere.
No, miss, you're not
You
allowed
are.
to sing
You are.
church
You are.
songs outside of church grounds, by the way.
You're not allowed to sing church songs outside
Outside of church or church songs or church
You're not allowed
grounds.
to-
That's fine. That's
You're not
fine.
allowed. She just said you're not allowed to sing church songs outside of church.
Our church outside of church grounds, unless you have unless
That's
you've
a load
been
of rubbish.
authorized by the
You're
church to
allowed.
do this kind of song.
He's not saying anything anymore.
Are you saying that you don't care about the Human Rights Act? You're lost?
Did you see the ending? That is a conduct of someone. I mean, you may not be a full-time police officer, but it doesn't matter. She's part of the force. She's helping them out, and of course, she was also being escorted by the others. I mean, forget about her behavior. See the problem? The double standards, right? Now that's one part of the issue. Second part is just allowing these sort of things to happen. Where is Sadiq Khan? Where is the Mayor of London right now? Actually, let me just double check. As we are talking to you guys live right now, I want to see what he actually has tweeted about this. Obviously, it's an important issue that happened earlier today. He has definitely posted something, right? Let's go and find out what Sadiq Khan has actually posted on this issue. I'm continuing to scroll down, still scrolling down. Where is the Mayor of London? Has he said anything? 2 hours ago? 6 hours ago? Nope. 28th of January. The Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, has not released a statement or even tweeted about this incident to at least send a supportive message to the Jewish community and just Londoners in general. Tell them, reassure them that his police force are on top of it. Say something, anything, any rhetoric, any generic political rhetoric, right? Something. He's the mayor. No. Do you know why? It's not necessarily because of Islamism, not necessarily that. It's primarily, it goes back to what he said himself a few years ago. For those who remember, when Sadiq Khan became mayor and we had a lot of, well, we still have a lot of attacks on a daily basis, gangs and everything else. He just said it's just parts and parcels of being part of living in a city. As in, the reason he said that is because his brain was saying, well, these sort of things are regular now. Get used to it. That means I would not have to respond to any of these incidents when they happen because it happened all the time. The sad reality is what he said is basically happening. Part and parcel of a city. But it shouldn't be. Big cities, compared to small towns and villages, were always different, even throughout history. Ancient times, with Rome, and medieval times, post-medieval times, London, Paris, they were always different. It was a larger crowd, population, people who didn't know each other, compared to small towns or villages who, you know, all the neighbors would know each other. But safety could still be maintained back in the day. Yeah, you still had a couple of people who were burglars. You had people, obviously, committing crime in general, but not gangs. Not like this. Not this casual. But it's happening across the whole world with big cities. Super chat from Just Gaming Entertainment. Thank you very much. Saying, haven't you learned? It's not. It's like it's against, if it's against Jewish people. Well, that's also a good point, right? So, as I said, it's interesting how previously any other incident, an attack, the police could take about half an hour, and then when they have enough evidence, right? Like how today, the evidence was quite clear. This person, all the eyewitnesses, and even obviously Shomrim and the guys who tried to obviously stop the attack, they all confirmed he was going around proactively targeting the Jewish community, anti-Semitic remarks and everything else, right? Somehow, the police have not coordinated with the BBC News, or Sky News, or all these guys after a few minutes to tell them to report to the rest of the country that's terror related or something. Whereas in the past they could. Because it doesn't count if there are Jewish people involved. And also, just generally speaking, right now, you've heard from people like Humza Yusuf, you've heard from people like even Keir Starmer, Sadiq Khan, while they have been forced or pressured to acknowledge anti-Semitism and rise of it, they also have done something very interesting over the last few months. Repeatedly, they come out and they are concerned about the rise of Islamophobia, right? it goes hand in hand with the lack of reaction to what happened today. They believe if they come out and acknowledge what happened or publicize it, they're going to increase Islamophobia. Really. For the people who were targeted today, and fortunately they survived, I don't think they care about political correctness. They just want to live their lives. They want to live in a safe London. It's not really that difficult. They don't care about offence or being offended or offending someone. No one in particular says that yes, Sadiq Khan's police force are woke as F. Yep. Molly says the Brits will rise up. It's just a matter of timing, I guess. We've been waiting for that for years now. But I agree with Molly. Phil says, I thought London had plenty of anti-terrorism units, but they've been cut back. So there is another issue. To an extent, in defense of the intelligence community partly, and of course the counter-terrorism units, there is a bigger issue which is caused politically by our politicians and governments because of mass migration and lack of vetting people's backgrounds. It's made it harder on people, including GCHQ and the counter-terrorism and Met, because they have a list. They have individuals who they're monitoring, right? They have those who are linked to certain networks. But this problem, because it's a virus, it's a toxic virus that it could affect anybody who is basically believing in that ideology, Islamic ideology. There could actually be, I know we don't like the phrases, certain words like lone wolves, but actually they do exist in a sense that that person might not have actually been on the list for him to be monitored, because that list is growing so much because of mass migration that even the good guys, the few good guys who are working the counter-terrorism units, they can't even keep up with the whole thing anyway. And then that list continues to grow, and it should grow a bit much longer, but it can't, because you can't really check everyone's behavior every single day. This person might not have actually had any Islamism terror background. You know, he might have actually been criminal for other things like petty theft or whatever, right? But it might not have actually been on the list. I mean, and if he was on the list, then that's a whole different discussion. Then all our criticism will go back to the Home Office and the leadership. They have to do something. You know how they're always concerned about backlogs and all that nonsense with the illegal migrants and everything else, housing and healthcare. Why is no one caring about the backlog when it comes to the extremists who are on a massive list, walking freely every day, thousands and thousands of them? Even the few good people who want to work in GCHQ or the counter-terrorism or MI5, how can you expect them to do their jobs if they can't even keep up with the numbers? And then the rest of them are woke anyway. So it's not an easy situation, and you know the political leadership are not really responding to any of this, which is a big problem. Super chat from Jason, thank you very much, saying Islam destroyed Iran. Don't you think the British should learn? I've been saying repeatedly on 2CTV when we talk about relevant topics. I know, someone like me knows, because of my background, my mother's background. Do not turn Britain into another Iran. Do you think Iranians back in 1978, 77, 76, in the 60s, did you think they were worried about the rise of Islamism in their country when Iran was a liberal, secular society, with, you know, their parliament and everything else? No, they didn't see it coming. When it happened, they realized, oops, what are we going to do now? How are we going to save our country now? Don't turn Britain into another Iran. Now, Islamic occupation of Iran continues. I'm not saying it's going to be the exact same thing in Britain. That would be an exaggeration, but it will be a slow route towards chaos. Let's go back to the video of obviously this man, 34-year-old man who got arrested, and then we'll come back get more of your reactions.
Calm down. Get me off your hand now. Get me off your hand.
Yep, that was the incident earlier today about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. That happened in Golders Green in a Jewish community, Jewish market, kosher market. That happened on, I believe, Hamilton Road. But we're still waiting for Sadiq Khan to have any sort of reaction. But he's too busy, very busy. Emery Churchill says, you are my news channel every day. I visit this channel for my news. You speak the truth. Britain is turning into another Iran. It's horrible to see. Unfortunately, I agree. Jason says the Brits stopped having babies, not enough young British men. This is also a bigger problem when it comes to society in general. As the Western societies became more prosperous, more educated, liberalism, and we're not talking about political left-wing liberalism, we're talking about societally liberalism increased, which means that also feminism and everybody wants to be a careerist, men and women, everybody's too busy with more materialism and all that, which means more divorces, fewer marriages and fewer babies. But when we are importing people from other cultures who are still more traditional and old school, they're having 6-7 babies every month. So you can't really compete with that. And the fact that we've, obviously not even like people like me, but the so-called white English Brits, for example, stop having babies. It's not really about skin color. People think it's about skin color. It's not the skin color that's the problem. It's the attitude and the basic class and culture. That's going away. Basic traditions, everyday behavior that you would have with your family, with your neighborhood. Each nation is a tribe, and each tribe has its own attitude. When those people were in Pakistan, for example, they had their own attitude. When people live here in a small English village, they have their own attitude. Everything is more, you have a routine when it comes to behavior as a person, with your family, with your neighborhood, in your school. Not only it's got mixed, if it was mixed on an equal level playing field with different cultures, it's fine, right? Like, if Americans and the Brits hang out every now and then. But when you have one culture that's been completely different to the other culture, and I'm saying on a very basic human level, for example, one having a lot of babies, traditional way, one having no babies and having more divorces, you can't compete with that. So by default, you will be replaced, and that is the issue. And it's nothing to do with actual skin color. This is, again, but political left don't really understand any of this. The skin color and physical appearance and all that is just part of the package that went coincidentally hand in hand with culture. Because the people who are having the same babies, obviously in similar culture, raising them in a neighborhood, were from the same culture who happened to have the same skin color. It was just coincidence in terms of human tribes. But you can't really change that right now. Cora L says, they support at groups, but they want to live in a Western cultural just to ruin our freedom. This is interesting how certain people go around spending their time attacking this country and society and culture, and they end up living here while walking around the street carrying the flag of the original countries and governments, like flag of Algeria or Lebanon or Yemen or whatever. It's weird, right? Now, it might just be about anecdote, but I know enough Americans who live in London, friends. When they're in America, they're very American. They love their flags, right? But when they're here, even the same Americans who are like just living here in London, working here, you can see they're American because of their accent. But they're not walking around with the American flag in the middle of London. Even the Americans. So, even the French. London is the 6th largest French city in the world, right? Even the French who live in London. And the French love their flags as well. Right. A couple of super chats. Cyberdude, thank you very much for your support. I believe from Canada. Oh, Canada. Saying Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Islamic terror attack, shots fired. Wow. City Hall during council meeting with many kids present. I'll look into that definitely. What is the UN Cairo Declaration 1990? UN enshrined Sharia law or Sharia as an Islamic human right. Yep. There has been no investigation in the West into the concept of Sharia, which is a big problem because they've been told to shut up about it and not ask questions. Aaron Bacon, thank you very much for the support, saying even Amish in the US have had enough with illegal immigration and crime. Amish bishops sent open letters offering to gather Amish together and build a wall. Even the Amish are building walls now. When are we going to learn? So I would do this back saying the Muslim Brotherhood 30 years agenda 1989, rise of political Islam. Who is in office now? Canada? Oh yeah. Well, let's not forget, most of this problem, a lot of people have been so distracted with the divide between Shia and the Sunnis. Doesn't really matter because at the end of the day, they have their own division internally. But when it comes to the world dominance, the one world government agenda that Islam has, most of it started with 1979. The takeover of Iran was the blueprint for the rest of the plan, the agenda. And then you had in the 80s, you had all the others getting ready, being trained by the Iranian regime, whether it's the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, and even in Tunisia, all the other places, Lebanon, Jordan. And then they obviously empowered Hamas, Hezbollah, the creation of all those ones as well, and the Houthis. And then now, it doesn't have to be the Islamic regime in Iran doing it anymore, because they have their own networks, different ones. You know, even the Sunnis have their own versions. You know, you even had Al Qaeda with the help of America making a mess there in that area. But now we have this situation. The reason we criticize the globalist West in terms of what they did, for example, with the Mujahideen in Afghanistan at the time, wasn't that they created them. It's that they gave them a platform intentionally or intentionally. Well, they used their help to fight against the Soviet. But they were always ready to rise up. They were already getting trained by the Iranian regime. But the Western globalist idiots didn't help the situation because they needed their help at the time and they thought that they could use them as puppets afterwards. The CIA lot did the same thing in the 70s. They helped Ayatollah Khomeini in Iran to take over from the Shah with a paramilitary coup, undemocratic, and they thought the Americans thought they could control him. The next day, the Islamists in Iran came on the streets and chanted down with America, death to America. How did that go? CIA. Chloe, thank you so much, Chloe from Australia, super chat, saying it's like a theocracy where the conservative atheists have one child and everyone else has 10. Dr. David Wood says the Muslim women are baby factories. Yes. Chloe also says, I made a video, what's wrong with Sharia, to educate you Brits. It also covers demographic shift rise of the obviously Islamic population in the UK. They all want Sharia. The biggest problem is actually now compared to other cultures, because usually, I said this before, with most cultures and multiculturalism, as long as you control the first wave of the first generation, by default, second generation and third generation, younger kids, will adapt and will integrate. As long as there are lower numbers compared to the natives in each neighborhood, city, town, right? A country. But the problem we are having, so most cultures, even like Hindus and Indians and all those guys, second generation, their kids now growing up, third generation, they're basically Brits. All the people from African origins, like Nigerians or whatever, right? The problem that we're currently facing is the second and third generation of Muslim communities, the younger kids, the younger guys who are coming on the streets, protesting not just against the Jews and Israel and all that, but the rhetoric they're using is even more extreme than their own parents who originally came here. Now, part of that goes back to the brainwashing system that we have, all the mosques and Islamic culture centers that we have. There is no monitoring. You don't know what's going to happen, what's happening in there. I mean, how many times some of the extremists and preachers have been arrested? Because at some point MI5 had to go and find out exactly what's going on. Then they realized, oh, this is a training ground. They're brainwashing the younger kids who are being raised in the UK, in the secular liberal UK. But of course, when they go to these Islamic centers, the preachers would point out all the problems that we have. They say, oh, you just came into the mosque, you walked on the streets, did you not see all the women revealing clothes, they're on Tinder, they're getting drunk in a bar, and they're having fun. They are living here. But because they're listening to that nonsense from the preacher, then hate gets created. And hate makes you their enemy. How are you going to stop that? Anyway, just wanted to guys give you this update about what happened earlier today on in Golders Green. If you joined late, feel free to scroll back to the beginning of the live stream and watch the whole thing. Yeah, thank you for all the support. Obviously, we'll come back tomorrow with more updates unless something breaking news happens again later tonight. I'm Maya Tusi, and we are the media.